The Donut Bag is brought to you by Penn Highway Marketplace, the marketplace for vintage goods, quality collectibles, and handmade crafts. It's where I get all my sports memorabilia. Go to facebook.com/Penn Highway. That's facebook.com/PENNHWY and mention I sent you.
We are finally done with the preseason. We're finally close. We've been thinking about September 10th for like the last 7 months, and it's almost finally here. Okay, why do we have to wait 2 weeks? Do you think they should maybe start the season on Labor Day weekend?
You would think so, and I think this all changed a few years back when, like, because I think the first night the game is a Thursday night, right? The Lions and the Chiefs. We've talked about that. Everybody's in love with the Lions, so apparently, we're getting the Lions and the
Chiefs
Chiefs.
are going to destroy them.
And there's all these people picking the Lions to beat them. But yeah, so I think it's just in the interest of this big thing. I think they wanted to get away from a holiday weekend where that is technically the last weekend of the summer. People are going to fairs and maybe that last getaway for the weekend. And the NFL wants all the attention on them, so they picked that weekend after.
That's true. That's true.
And here we are. But yeah, I'd be ready to go. And it's funny you should say this. I'd be ready to go this Sunday, and I think the Steelers are. Every game we've seen play, and even I've been more interested in NFL Network and ESPN take rather than nothing against Pomp and Batch. I love them. How they're commenting on the Steelers are starting their starters. Well, what a notion. Yeah, start the players. And like I think when you look at what Tomlin and the Steelers are doing, the reason they're doing that is I think part of that is they're excited too. They're eager. They know the last couple seasons just haven't been all that great. They haven't put a good season together in a while. Okay, they were winning seasons or whatever, 500. But I think they also realize, Joe, they have something special and they want to show it off and they want to see how it's going to go. I mean, you sit there and you're like, man, I'm not a Falcons fan by any means. I'd like to see how Desmond Ritter looks. And he just was on the sidelines the whole time. Meanwhile, Kenny's out there. You got the running backs going. I think Anthony McFarland, maybe if his butt was on the line, I think he may have saved it. On Thursday. So it's really interesting. I think the Steelers, they're never going to admit this. I think they're excited to show off a little bit.
Yeah. I have no idea what Atlanta was thinking, not even starting their starters a little bit. I would just for the fact of it's like, hey, if we play our 2s and 3s against their starters, we're gonna get killed. I mean, it's just gonna look bad. Let's play our starters for at least a little bit or something. Right. No, they didn't play. Yeah, Desmond Ritter needs the reps. He needs the reps way more than Kenny Pickett does. That's whatever. I think Atlanta. I think Atlanta. People are saying Atlanta is going to be a darling. I think they are also going to suck because Desmond Ritter. Who knows what you have there? I think he's a big unknown. But yeah, this is the most like impressive preseason I've ever seen with the Steelers. I've never seen them look this good. And the question is, okay, but what does it mean? You've had a beautiful, wonderful season where you only had really one injury, and that was to that Corey Trice, the 7th round guy. Otherwise, everyone's healthy. Everyone looks good. I don't know. That's the big question. It's like, okay, is it going to translate to the regular season?
Yeah, it's not so much that they are 3-0, it's what they did to be 3-0, if that makes sense. The Ravens, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite because the Ravens have been, they hadn't lost a preseason game till this past weekend for like 4 years or something like that, or even longer. But really, like you said, what does it all mean? Well, 3-0 is great, but it is a preseason. But I think what we've seen during 3-0 has been impressive. Like I said, I didn't think maybe a week or two ago when we did the podcast, I didn't think McFarland was going to make the team. I think he is now. And here's the other thing. I think they're going to make 4. I'm going to think 4 tight ends are going to make this team. Usually they don't carry 4 tight ends, but honestly, Connor Hayward has looked great. Darnell Washington is doing what Zach Gentry doesn't do. Like when Zach Gentry catches the ball, you're like, uh-oh, how am I going to tackle him? But he really doesn't get upfield for you to find out much. Darnell Washington gets the ball and he's chugging upfield. And he is a problem when he has the ball and ahead of steam. And he can block. Like we saw it last week. We saw it a little bit on Thursday in Atlanta. And on some of those jet sweeps, he's taking his man out on the trap. He is obliterating his block. He is an excellent blocking tight end. So I think you're going to see them carry 4 tight ends. I don't think you're going to see a Steelers. There's 17 guys left. They released the first cut list today. No tight ends on that list. I think you're going to see all 4 tight ends make this team.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised Gentry is still there. I mean, you really need 3 tight ends, but I am so excited to see what Darnell Washington is going to do. Oh my goodness. It's like this is like a superhero origin story. It's like they don't know what to do and then they figure it out and then they become superhuman. Like I could just see Darnell Washington I don't know. He feels like a jolly green giant. Like he's just going to like just stomp on people and step on them and walk into the end zone or something. I don't know.
It reminded me of when Eric Green kind of came out of nowhere. And, I don't think he's as quick as Eric Green, obviously. Eric Green is a very fast tight end for his size, but he does have that ability to get up the field. And like I said, a couple of the training camps I saw, there were linebackers and safeties like going, oh boy. And you know how Latrobe is. You're like right there. You can see it better than you can see it at Heinz Field or probably even on TV. And you can see like, what do I got to do? I mean,
Yeah.
so, and Gentry, I don't think Gentry drops a lot of balls. He's a pretty steady hand, but I like Zach Gentry, but he just isn't exactly speedy.
I mean,
So,
Gentry's tall. He just
yes,
doesn't.
he's a big boy, but he's just not
yeah.
going to get the speed to go up the field. It's going to make somebody hesitant to tackle him. Where
Yeah.
Washington does that, and of course Muth is great. And I think Connor Hayward is a guy that they want to see what else he can do. He can also run out of the backfield. I mean, he's going to be fun this year. I bet you, Joe. I bet you Connor Hayward scores. I'm going to say 2 touchdowns this year.
I think more than that. I think he has a role in this offense.
Yep.
I think could be tight end, could be running back, could be who knows. They could just put him all over the place. Now we say all these wonderful things, and then we might get Matt candidates. We might get
right.
That's such a frustrating thing, but
right.
Yeah, it just seems special. I was just listening to the Locked On Steelers podcast with Chris Carter, and he was saying that he was talking to his dad, and his dad said, usually the Steelers around cut down, they're like, who do we have to keep? And now they're saying, oh, who do we have to get rid of? There's too many good players. I think that's a case. I think by cut day, they're gonna drop a lot of players, good ones.
Yeah, the only surprise for me today was a little bit was Kenny Robinson, but they're pretty deep at safety. But, everyone, of course, he's a local kid, came out of Wilkinsburg, Imani Christian, played at WVU. But despite all that, he looked pretty good. He looked good in camp, had an interception twice, 2 interceptions in camp. Looked good against Atlanta, looked good against Buffalo. So, but again, you're right. I think it's we have so many good guys at safety, Kenny. And I think if they don't put him on a practice squad or something, I think Kenny Robinson's going to get picked up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the other thing. Who's going to end up on the practice squad? But I thought it was very interesting that they already made a trade. They traded Kevin Dotson. And people are freaking out. I was like, "Oh my God, how do you get rid of him and keep Kendrick Green? Oh my God!" Well, for one thing, Kendrick Green can play 2 positions. That might be it. Just there.
And we've said that, Joe, for the last couple of weeks. We're pretty much sure he won't make the team, but if he does, it's his ability to play multiple positions. We traded Dotson. Everybody, we not to trade DeMonte Dawson. We traded Dotson. So, hold up, he's not a bad player, but if Kendrick Green was going to make that team, he might now. They did do away LaRaven Clark, Bill Dunkel, which kind of disappointing because Dunkel's just a fun word to say. He got cut, so did Clark. Now you send Dotson away. I'm surprised, but I think Kendrick Green might make this team now, which I guess it's depth. You got to have depth.
Hey, as long as he's the 3rd string center and the 3rd string guard or something like that, and possibility of being the ultra fullback or something like that. Like, okay, fine. So we'll see. As long as his job is to keep the bench from flying away, then I'm perfectly happy with him being on this team.
We'd rather see George Pickens play at center than we
right. Ezekiel Elliott, his last game as a Dallas Cowboy, his last play, he was the center on that stupid gadget play they
That's
played
right.
in the thing. Like what a
That's
way
right.
to end your career with a team is you're gonna be the center. You're gonna be destroyed by this defensive
Yeah, you're
lineman
gonna get
that's in front of you.
destroyed, but
Yeah.
we need you to buck up.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Uh,
That was crazy. But I think one of the bigger surprises of camp was that Dan Moore is probably keeping the starting job for now over
yeah,
Broderick Jones. I think we all assumed Broderick Jones would start right away, but I think he just has a little bit more to learn.
he does, and like I said, that first 3 weeks against there is against some brutal defenses. So I think you're going to see him play. Right now, he's listed as the number one left tackle, and that's just the way. And maybe it was that they drafted him. I don't know, but yeah, he's probably. It's weird, Joe. He's probably the feel good story, but people don't want him to be the feel good story because they want Broderick Jones to be the feel good story. Pompiani put the cuts up a few hours ago. I was reading through some of the comments, and people were saying they should have cut Dan Moore. And are you people morons? Have you watched camp? Have you watched these games? If there's a guy that maybe was on, I don't think he was ever going to be on the cut, Joe, but maybe go to backup role. He was it, and he proved himself. He's earned it. He's going to start on September 10th, and he's earned that. And good for him. I mean, good for us. Are you kidding me? I think there's a lot of depth here that's good. They cut Tanner Morgan today, so that means Mason Rudolph's our third stringer. How many teams in the NFL have a third string quarterback with as much experience as Mason Rudolph? So I think it's good. I'm fine with Dan Moore starting his first couple games. And I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see him go over there and take Chuck's position later in the season if Broderick Jones keeps developing.
I am surprised that Mason Rudolph is still on the team and hasn't been picked up by anybody. Maybe it's like a middle season thing or something like that. I mean, Arizona is doing some shenanigans. They are tanking like crazy because apparently that Southern California, that USC quarterback is like next level, like awesome, like one of the next great quarterbacks. And so, okay, you want to tank for him, but I mean, they just traded for Josh Dobbs, and he's going to be their starter. The dude just showed up, and he's like, "Oh, you're a starter." Nothing says tanking more than that.
Right, we'll take Josh Dobbs. Nobody wants to take Josh Dobbs.
Like Mason Rudolph could beat out Josh Dobbs in the competition.
Yeah,
But
and that's the thing. I mean, Mason Rudolph does what, and it really, to this most part, we talked about this. I forget what game it was last year, Joe, where Trubisky did have to come in, and he did what you wanted him to do. What you want a backup to do. Hey, if the backup can come in and lead a couple drives, or at least manage the game to where you guys win the game, and then go back into his backup role after. That's what you want. Steelers have two guys that are like that, and I'm not saying Trubisky's an all-star, but I like him as a backup, and I like Mason as a backup. So they have a good depth, and I think that's what they want, Joe. I mean, look at the inside linebacker. You and I've been talking about that for almost 2 years. Man, did they develop that? They are really right now very deep at safety. They're deep at linebacker. They're deep at offensive line. It appears they're deep at quarterback. They're going to have 6 really decent wide receivers. I mean, look, is this team going to go undefeated? No. Is this team going to go to the Super Bowl? Probably not. But they're really planting the seed to have a lot of depth to maybe get there in the coming years.
I think I'm excited about these inside linebackers. And going into camp, we were saying that could be the biggest weakness on the team is like, what the heck is going on with these inside linebackers?
Right.
I think that's going to be like possibly a 3, maybe a 4-headed monster with a Landon Roberts, Cole Holcomb, Quan Alexander, and Mark Robinson.
Yeah.
I think they might. I think there's actual depth there, and there's depth at outside linebacker too, which hasn't been the case in a long time. Nick Herbig and Marcus Golden. I think that's some good depth. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but if somebody does get hurt, I think they'll still might be okay.
Yeah, I really do too. I mean, it's really, when you look at that foursome, and it's not like you want TJ Watt in as much as you want him in. But it's nice to know if TJ Watt needs a spell on the bench that you can have a guy like Herbig came right in. It kind of reminds me, remember Kendrell Bell had that huge rookie year. I mean, he's like, well, he's, maybe he'll get some time. He was great. So it's just like, and you kind of feel like that way. Those, that 2008 to 2013, 14 Steelers teams, their linebackers were deep. James Ferrier, I still say James Ferrier because remember, Jerome Bettis was a draft day trade. I still
Yeah.
think James Ferrier is the greatest free agent acquisition we ever made as an organization. And now you might be looking at this and say something like, Cole Holcomb could go on, or Quan Alexander might make that type of impact. It's just kind of looking and feeling like they do what they might.
Yeah. Yeah. And still, I think one of their biggest tests is going to be week 1 against the 49ers. The 49ers, I think, are going to be good, but I think they're catching them at the right time because I think they're going to be in a little bit of disarray. Who knows what's going on with Brock Purdy if
Or
he's
Bosa.
hurt.
I don't think.
Yeah, or if Bosa might play. He might still hold out.
Right. Yeah. So you might be right. It's kind of funny because when you look at that, was it the 84 49ers that went 15-1 and their only loss that year was the Steelers on opening day? I think it
Yeah.
was, or something maybe close to opening day. But yeah, it could be. Like I said, they have a tough 3-game schedule to start. The depth is looking good. Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to get too excited. You've said that a few times, but I think we were back a few months ago. You had us take a really, really too early jab at the record. 11 to 12 wins, I think, is within reach. One other guy too, DeMarvin Leal, who I loved last year as a pick from Texas A&M, didn't impress last year. This year at camp, he's had a phenomenal camp. He could be a guy that everyone's really, really coming around to as the season goes on. I think he's going to be great off the bench. Cam Hayward needs a good guy off the bench. I think he's going to be it.
I have a theory. And my theory is now this is Monday night, so we don't know who's going to get cut. But my theory is that they're going, like, if it's a choice on the bubble between an older guy and a newer guy, in other words, a guy that Colbert acquired or a guy that Omar Khan acquired, they're going to keep the newer guy. So
Yep.
I just want to see because there's going to have to be there's a lot of good defensive line guys, and somebody good is going to be let go.
Yes.
I think I keep hearing this is Brandon Fehoko that it's like, oh my God, you got to keep him, but it's like, my goodness. I mean, obviously Cam Hayward, Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton are making the team. Then you have Montravius Adams, DeMarvin Leal, Isaiah Loudermilk, and then Fehoko, and then there's Armand Watts, who is supposed to be good. You're not keeping all of them. Like, I don't know what somebody's going. I don't know who it's going to be. We'll see.
And tell me, and I think you're hitting on a really good point here too. Tell me that you don't get a little excited when they throw up the starters the last couple of games, and you're looking at Kenny Pickett, you're looking at Pickens, you're looking at Deontay Johnson, you're looking at Najee Harris. They're all in their early to mid 20s, or early 20s. They are a very young team still, and that to me, I still say this till the day is long. Those 2016 and 27 Pittsburgh Penguins teams, they won not only, yes, of course, they had Crosby and Malkin, but they won because they had a youth movement.
They
Were
brought in the kids,
fast. They brought in the kids, and now you're seeing NHL's a mimic league like anybody else. That's what you've seen these last couple teams do. And I think the Penguins are, not probably directly, but I think they're noticing something like that, and they're realizing we're going with youth. And that's I think it's a great move, and it's exciting.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's finally here. It's finally here. We have to deal with all these appetizers before we get to actually the actual main course, and we're finally at the main course. The appetizer of OTAs and asking who looked good in when they were running around in shorts and no pads, like what silly
Right.
things like that, and we're finally getting to a point where it actually counts.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of fun too. Like I said, you get the 49ers coming in who we don't get to see playoff. And then you go to the Browns and the Raiders. Browns obviously are fun and they're fun to beat. Raiders, always an old school rivalry. I think that's going to be fun seeing how our defensive backs contain Devontae Adams. Josh Jacobs is signed. So I don't think the Raiders by any means are contenders, but they have a decent, offense that'll punch in the mouth and play pretty good football. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle those guys. Some good tests for them, and it's going to be fun, especially a Monday night matchup against the Browns. I'm not a big Monday night fan because they start the games at 11:40 and 5 at night.
Right. Right.
Or at least we get to halftime by 11:45.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. Was there anybody at all that surprised you on the cuts that made today?
I think that Tanner Muse maybe, but
Yeah,
still not really. Yeah. I mean, yeah, everybody. I think the cut down day tomorrow is going to be interesting. And I have a feeling we're not done with trades either. I have a feeling we're still going to have a few more trades.
that could be. They saved, I think it was 2.2 against the cap with the Dotson trade. So, who knows? Yeah, you're right. You're right. Or again, maybe they'll make a move at the trade deadline, which we don't often see the Steelers do. But you never know. So
Yeah, with Omar Khan, you never know what's going to happen. He's open to anything, so that's really cool. So
yeah, for sure.
we will see. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. Now we gotta wait. Now we gotta wait for stupid Labor Day. Come on, come on.
Yes. Well, at least I guess you got college football to tide you over. Pitt's got Wofford, Penn State's got WVU, so those are mildly interesting games. So yeah, I mean you got that, but yeah, the Steeler Nation is ready to rock and roll, and yeah, I mean again, it's gonna be interesting to see what our first teams are gonna look like against their other first team offenses and defenses because we haven't seen much of that this preseason. It's almost like, yeah, you put your starters in. We're going to put on our backups, and we'll see you guys in the regular season. But
Yeah.
I think Tomlin said something today to the fact I like to spar before I like to fight, which classic Mike Tomlin thing. But I get what he's saying. We got to see Kenny. We got to see all these guys that we've been wanting to see, and they've been playing fairly well. Now it's time to see if they play a lot better than fairly well in a regular season.
Yeah, it seems like he's a believer in at least play a little bit. You guys got to play a little bit. Like one of the main reasons they won last year in Cincinnati was because the Steelers actually played a little bit in the preseason, and the Bengals did not play at all. That is a huge thing to just go into the regular season cold. Nobody playing together. That's just weird.
Right. And, Joe, I think maybe, and again, it's fine. I wouldn't either, I guess. Mike Tomlin, to his credit, maybe they learned from their mistake last year not playing Kenny Pickett with any of the starters at all.
Yeah.
That was rough. It wasn't fair to him. It wasn't fair to the other team. So yeah, I mean, you got to see everybody here a little bit more than last year.
It's just it was a difference between night and day between last year and this year. Last year, it's like, okay, we know Kenny's there and he needs to learn, blah blah blah. But we'll see. We'll let Mitch, start it first, and we don't know what this offensive line is going to do, and we don't know about this. And now it's like everything is set. It's all established, and now everybody has experience. And it's like, ooh, ready to go.
Yeah, for sure.
So West Virginia plays. At Penn State?
Saturday at 7:00 they play.
Goodness.
And yeah, so they play 7:00 and Pitt plays Wolford. I'm not sure at what time.
Pitt plays Wolford at 3:00 on Saturday. I think I'm actually going to go to that game. Me and about 5,000 of my friends, because that's about how I did. Like Narduzzi said something like, yeah, last year we started against West Virginia and we were all psyched, and now we had to make sure that we were like good from the beginning, but now we're playing Wofford, so who cares? He didn't say it in those words, but he basically said that. Okay, we get it, dude, but I hope you're not just giving Wofford bulletin board material.
Right. Yeah. Well, Narduzzi loves to do that. And it's, I don't know if it's part of his charm or part of like, holy cow, dude, but,
yeah, exactly. Little of both.
Yeah. It's why I think it's why Penn State fans love to hate him. And, obviously, but I always kind of find it kind of charming and interesting what he's going to say next. So, yeah, it's he's got some big recruits on the line right now on the fence, and I think he needs to do what he can to kind of bring them over. So yeah, I think a lot of people have Pitt at like 8-4 this year. I could see that. They're a pretty good team. I think they'll be a little bit better than that. They might surprise some people, but we'll see how it goes. Penn State's one has all the pressure on them. There's huge preseason expectations. We'll see if James Franklin can kind of live up to that. I think he earned himself a stay of execution after last year. Pretty good year when you go 11-2, win a Rose Bowl. You have a guy that's a Heisman hype coming in at quarterback. We'll see. But
Listen, don't get rid of him. Don't do the mistake that Nebraska did years ago. Like every year, Nebraska settled into this thing in like the 90s where they would be like, okay, we're gonna go 9-2. We're gonna play in a major bowl. Probably not win a championship, but oh well, we're gonna be one of the best teams in the country. And then they got rid of that guy because they wanted to go undefeated, and the program just went
in the tank.
tanked.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a disaster ever
Franklin
since.
is fine. Franklin is fine. Just stick with Franklin. He's not going to get you over the top, but sorry. Ohio State and Michigan are pretty good. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I keep getting killed with by Penn State fans, and this is the way I look at it. And I'm sorry, I'll put my neck on the line right here, and you can put it in the byline or whatever. This is why you should play Pitt or WVU every year. Or my solution is you do a home and home with WVU, then you go to home and home with Pitt, and vice versa, and go back and forth. I'd be fine with that. Here's why. Who's Penn State's rival? To me, it's Pitt. And
Right.
Okay, I'm over 40, and so you might be there. I think you are. But that's the way we think. If you ask any Penn State fan in the last 20 years, who's our rival? Well, they'll say, oh, Ohio State or Michigan. If you ask an Ohio State or Michigan fan, or even a Michigan State fan, they say, who's your arch rival? Nobody's going to say Penn State.
Right.
And it's not a knock, but Penn State fans have to realize we're still technically the new kid on the block. It's been since 1994. I get that. It's not that new, but it is new in their eyes because the Big Ten's been around since like Abraham Lincoln was president. So, I'm sorry, you're just never going to, if Penn State were going undefeated and playing in national title games and losing and winning or whatever, okay, maybe. But you're not going to get that from Ohio State or Michigan fans. Now, if I ask you, a Pitt fan, who's your biggest rival, I'm pretty sure you're going to say Penn State.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what, I'm an old school guy, Joe. That's why I think they should play. Because I can't get excited about UMass and Delaware on our schedule this year. I would much rather this be WVU, it is, or you this week than Walford.
Who knows how and Penn State and West Virginia haven't played in forever.
31 years.
There you go. I was going to say since the 80s. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a good rivalry right there. Just a natural, regional rivalry.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to live in Moon right by the Pittsburgh airport, and you'd see these buses coming in from like Tulsa and Texas A&M, and you're like, why are they here? Oh yeah, they're playing WVU. At least when it was Clemson, you knew they were playing Pitt or Rutgers or something like that. The team bus, like, okay, that's fairly local. You don't want to see Texas A&M, or Colorado coming in here and acting like, oh yeah, it's a big rivalry for WVU. No.
Yeah, it's this whole conference crap is just getting ridiculous. The Atlantic Coast Conference is about to welcome in Stanford and Cal, those Atlantic Coast teams.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous, but I don't care what you do with your conference crap or whatever, however this shakes out. I think teams like Pitt and Penn State should be forced to play each other every year, or West Virginia and Penn State, or West Virginia and Pitt, or whatever. You should be forced to play your actual rivals. And I get it. I get why Penn State wouldn't want to play Pitt. Like, why would I'm guaranteed to win against Akron. I only have a very high percentage of chance to win against Pitt. So why risk that?
Right.
I get that, but those few times that Pitt and Penn State have played in the past, even though younger people don't really understand the rivalry, it's still intense.
Oh, so much fun.
What was it? I think they played 3 times, and 2 of those times Penn State absolutely destroyed them. But that one time Pitt won, and that's all we need. And that was the year that Penn State could have made it to playoffs, but they didn't because of Pitt. We could talk about that. I still remember 48-14 in 1982 when Penn State prevented Pitt from going to the national championship.
National title game. And that 82 Pitt team was just a phenomenal team.
We
Oh,
yeah.
Marino. Yep.
Oh, that was so frustrating.
There's
Yeah.
a guy I can't remember his name. It's escaping me. I follow him on Twitter. Tennessee Titans kind of a guru. And they're at some point this year. I think 2 games they're wearing the Houston Oilers uniforms, and he put it up there when they revealed that. And so you look into the comments, and he even put later, he goes, "I cannot believe the amount of Steeler fans that are going nuts over this." But that's what it is. I mean, we remember those days, the House of Pain, the Oilers, the Bengals, the Browns, and the
The
Steelers.
AFC Central was
Oh, it
was
was so
Steelers, Browns, Bengals, and Oilers.
Chuck Noll, Glanville. I mean,
Oh,
and like
nights.
I said, how old are you? Because that I love those uniforms. I mean, I have no qualms about wanting to watch a Tennessee Titans game.
Oh
And when they
yeah.
wear those uniforms, I'll probably watch.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing they're doing with the old uniforms. They're bringing
Yes.
back the old creamsicles with Tampa Bay. They're bringing back those Philadelphia Eagles Kelly greens. That's
Yes.
good stuff.
It is good stuff, but I think that's what it is. It's so much about nostalgia, but it's just fond memories of how that AFC Central used to be and how bitter that was and how great the AFC Central was.
You talk
Other than
about
Denver.
you talk about teams that's like why how did we not win more? How did those Houston Oiler teams with like Warren Moon and
Ernest Givens,
Ernest Givens, Alonzo
Drew Hill.
Highsmith, although they had those were like all-star teams and they never did it. Well, the one year it was because of the Bills. They were up 32-3 and they ended up losing. That was something.
35-3, and they blew it.
But that 1989 team was really good, and the Steelers beat them in the playoffs in Houston.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like you remember that 84 game. You remember, the game where you cost Penn State. We remember costing that Oilers team probably a chance to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Do you remember it was the Bengals Browns game, I believe it was, and they were in Cincinnati, and the Cincinnati fans were throwing all this trash on the field, and Sam Weish, the head coach, gets the PA announcer to go down to his headphones. He goes, "This isn't Cleveland." I mean, that stuff just doesn't happen anymore. And that's what we're talking about here. Pitt, Penn State, Pitt, West Virginia. That's going to be so much fun this year. And Steelers, Oilers. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. Rivalries make sports. You can't let that die.
No.
Go do whatever your stupid conference stuff goes, but don't let the rivalries die because that's what people want. I don't even know what conference any of these teams are anymore, like Texas, Oklahoma, whatever. But you got to play your rivals. You got to have those rivalries. That means everything. That's why we watch.
Joe, the Steelers played the Titans on Thursday, November 2nd. I don't remember. Could you imagine if they wore those Oilers jerseys against the Steelers?
Oh my goodness, that would be so cool.
It would be. See, look at you getting excited about it.
That would be so cool.
Watch party. I mean,
that's the other thing. Chuck Noll wanted to beat the crap out of Jerry Glanville. I mean, we almost had a coach fight.
Right, because Chuck Noll. I mean, like he was Chuck Noll, but he never got like over the top like that. He was pissed off.
He's the most calm demeanor person ever, but he wanted to beat Jerry Glanville up.
He did. Remember the look on Glanville's face? Like, I can't believe you're talking to me like, I mean.
Right. They go to shake hands and Chuck Noll didn't let go. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Gary Anderson kicks the winning field goal, 23-20. And then the funny thing was, remember the Steelers went to Denver next week and damn near beat the Broncos.
In Denver. John Elway, one of those great John Elway Denver teams, and they almost won. I remember that was Bubby Brister and Merrill Hodge like putting the team on their back, and it almost worked.
Yeah, it did. It really did. That's kind of stuff that I remember, and I guess that's what I'm excited about that WVU game coming up, and that's why I say I'd much rather see Pitt on a Penn State football schedule than UMass, Delaware, or Rutgers, or anybody like that.
Oh. It just needs to happen. It just needs to happen. And I know Penn State wants it to happen, but they act like Pitt is so far beneath them. Like, oh no, you want to play us.
Yeah.
We don't want to play you. Like, no. You want to beat us. You want to beat us. I know you do. Don't deny it, Penn State fans. I know you want to beat us, Pitt fans.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at what was that, 51-6 or whatever it was? I mean, everybody's still talking about that. So yeah, no one's talking when we plaster Rutgers 51-6. Nobody cares.
That's one of
Um,
those, and that's one of those games where if you're up like 45-6 or something like that, it's like, hey, maybe we should let up. No. Keep scoring. Keep the starters in.
yeah.
I want more.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's great. It's why we do this. It's why we follow sports. It's for stuff like that because we really want to beat the other team. So
Yeah.
all right, sir. Thank you very much. I'm gonna bug you. Actually, can you come back next week because we're gonna do our like season preview thing and make some predictions.
Yeah, I believe so. I'll look forward to it. I'll be there.
Cool. All right. Hey, I'll see you.
All right. Take care, Joe. Thanks.
Bye.